Hi, this is James Stuetz.
And I'm Patrick Hickey.
And you're watching The W. This month's episode focuses on what is newsworthy. When journalists talk about what's newsworthy, they consider topics such as trends, timeliness, proximity, conflict, controversy, human interest, and relevance. Pat, did you know New Gordo's opened up in town?
I had no idea, but Joe Ragusa went out to the ShopRite shopping center to talk about the new opening of Gordo's North. Gordo's was originally located near Hawthorne train station, but because of the rent increase, they moved locations and are hoping to get back on track as to one of the best restaurants in town.
Joe Ragusa reporting from the W. I'm at the new restaurant, Gordo's North, where their motto is a new dining experience with old friends. Gordo's North is a hit right now off the bat with their great modern decor and their multiple menu choices like the beer menu, cocktail, bar bites, and their regular food menu. Have you ever wanted to catch a bite and watch the big game? Well, you can do this at the bar where you have a choice of a variety of delicious meals like their burgers, fries, and buffalo wings, or you can lay back and have a drink of your choice. Come catch a bite at Gordo's North, the new restaurant located at 1006 Broadway, Thornwood, New York. Back to you in the studio.
In political news, Tyler Hawkins with a piece on the request from the Manhattan District Attorney for President Trump's tax returns.
I'm Tyler Hawkins, and you're watching The W. President Donald Trump was ordered to show his returns to the Manhattan District Attorney in a response to suspicious behavior. Every president has released their tax returns since the early 1970s. President Trump stated sitting presidents are immune from criminal investigations as he fights the request for his tax returns. The Manhattan District Attorney demanded the records in late August as part of an investigation into hush money payments made in the run-up to the 2016 presidential election. This has raised a host of issues that have not been tested in courts. The Constitution does not say whether presidents can be charged with a crime while in office, and the Supreme Court has not ruled on the issue. President Trump's lawyers have said presidents have such enormous responsibility and a unique position in government that they cannot be burdened with investigations, especially by local prosecutors, who might be politically motivated. His lawyers sued to stop attempts by congressional Democrats to gain access to his tax returns and financial records, and to block a New York state law that would share tax returns with congressional committees. Trump hasn't released his tax returns yet, but that may change as this investigation goes on. Back to you in the studio.
Much-needed construction updates are underway at the home of the Wildcats. Alice Wolford sits down with our principal, Mr. Shanker, to find out what's been going on.
Today on the W, we're leaving the classroom and checking out the newest additions to the home of the Wildcats. I'm Alice Wolford, and this is the W. Over the past school year, there have been new updates on our school grounds. You might have noticed the new bathrooms, ceilings, floors, and even the front of the school. But aren't you curious about the construction happening now? Today we're meeting up with Westlake High School's principal, Keith Shanker, to get some answers. Let's go. Hi, Mr. Shanker.
How you doing, Alice?
Good, thank you.
Come on in.
We're here with Principal Keith Shanker to talk about the new updates to the school. Mr. Shanker, thank you for coming on the W and speaking to us.
My pleasure.
So first, I would like to know what's been happening around the campus.
So this campus, I know that students weren't allowed to really travel through the hallways this summer, but if you travel through the hallways this summer, this campus was completely ripped apart.
I saw some photographs.
Every single aspect of the interior spaces of the building, hallways to classrooms to bathrooms, offices, guidance suites, everything was ripped apart. So it was extensive and a lot of behind the walls work, which kids may not have seen or will see also happen. Westlake and this campus, about 5 to 10 years ago, had a whole bunch of items that were coming close to the end of their life. Things like roofs, boilers, heating systems.
Needed.
Yes. So that fed a lot of why the work was there. But living day to day, students would be able to tell you. If you ask students, did they enjoy using our bathrooms before they got redone?
Yeah.
Teachers, were they comfortable in their spaces? Was the lighting good? Was there proper, when you went to plug in your phone to go charge it, was the plug working? Those things also told you it was time.
Yeah. So how do you think this construction, the new bathrooms, the new ceilings, the new lighting, how do you think it has contributed to Westlake's image or Westlake's school spirit?
I mean, I think overall, kids want to feel like they're coming to a place that is cared for, taken care of, and the place that they spend the majority of their day is something that the community supports. And there's no better way to kind of show that initial, hey, this is a place that we want our kids to feel safe in and comfortable in, than spending money on improvements that make the space more comfortable. So having a bathroom that's clean and updated and works is the first message to, yeah, you should be comfortable here. You have a brand new, multiple brand new bathrooms now to use. But also knowing that when you're sitting in a classroom, my classroom in my first block of the day is not 90 degrees and my second block is 50 degrees. Like I know that my temperature, like I actually wear my clothes that I'm supposed to be wearing in the season that it is outside. So I think those send a lot of messages to students about the community does care about where you spend your day. But then there's other things that are needed for program. So some of the new classes and some of the things that we've been trying to do here over the years require many more computers, much more electricity, different spaces or different kind of spaces. So they're changing in the repair of those flexible walls between several classrooms that can now be opened up, which we just used for the first time for PSATs yesterday. The ability to have electricity in classrooms that actually works and won't blow a circuit. Computer labs that actually can run and not have, again, a circuit blown because too many things are on. Those things are all helpful to program, which then helps kids because they can actually take the classes that we want to run.
And so can you give us a hint of what's to come, what we can expect?
I think the next phase of work that you're going to see here, the hallways will get the renovation that the classrooms got. So when you come back after this coming summer, the rest of the ceiling work and lighting work will be completed. So you'll see new hallway ceilings, new lighting in those spaces. The surprise that I'm hoping that will be completed even maybe earlier than next summer is I asked for and they granted me the right to have, which is 2 patios outside the cafeterias. So there'll be external patios that people can actually eat outside. We'll get some tables.
That's awesome.
And I'm hoping that comes by the spring. So we'll actually have a reason to have external doors to the cafeteria. So that'll be 2 nice spaces for students during lunchtime. Our whole outside work that's happening down by where the tennis courts used to be, we actually will finally have functioning tennis courts again. And the addition, which I know future seniors will appreciate, the addition of many more parking spots on campus kind of ends the worry of someone's not going to get a spot because there's too many kids in the class. So that will be done this coming summer is the next layer of work on the exterior because the middle school gets the treatment that we just got next.
That's good. I know that parking is one of the biggest issues here on campus, and I know some seniors who didn't get a parking spot this year, which is pretty sad, but the patio, that sounds exciting. That's my favorite.
It should be fun. It should be fun.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Shanker, for sitting down and talking to us.
My pleasure.
This has been Alice Warford with the W.
Thank you.
11 states have legalized marijuana, and a new study has found that its legalization may be making it more difficult for teens to obtain it. Here's Mark D'Annunzio with more.
Hi, I'm Mark D'Annunzio from the W. Marijuana rate drops in legal states. A new study finds legalization may be making it more difficult for teens to obtain pot. This means the rate of teens smoking pot in legal states is starting to decrease. It is more difficult for teenagers to obtain marijuana as drug dealers are replaced by licensed dispensaries that require proof of age, according to Caitlin Newman from U.S. News and Report. Recreational marijuana laws were associated with an 8% decrease in the likelihood of teens trying marijuana, as well as 9% reduction in the odds of frequent marijuana use, stated psychiatrist Libby Stutt. Many teenagers believe that marijuana is safer than alcohol and other drugs. However, research shows that marijuana can cause serious problems with learning, feelings, and grades. A new study appears to contradict some separate state-level studies that suggest marijuana use among teens remain unchanged. Instead of declining following legalization, said Bonnie Halpern-Felcher, professor of pediatrics in Stanford University, Division of Adolescent Medicine in Palo Alto, California. Are youth getting the message that using marijuana during adolescence is more harmful because of the brain development? Halpern-Feltzer said, "Given the legalization, we need more education around marijuana or cannabis use for youth. And we don't really have a lot of education." I'm Mark D'Annunzio, and this is the W.
The rise to celebrity status is hard to achieve, but for rookie quarterback Gardner Minshew, the popularity came to him. I dive into the impact that Gardner Minshew has made both on and off the field. After multiple star-studded performances, Gardner Minshew of the Jacksonville Jaguars has taken over the NFL. Hi, this is Patrick Hickey, and in the latest celebrity news, the 6th-round draft pick from Washington State, Gardner Minshew, has taken the reins of the Jaguars' starting job after a devastating shoulder injury to former Super Bowl MVP and newly signed quarterback Nick Foles. Minshew's rise to celebrity fame started due to his cunning mustache and his striking resemblance to Napoleon Dynamite's Uncle Rico. An episode aired on ESPN NFL Countdown, with the two linking up and evaluating each other's throwing arms and overall talent. On the football side, in 5 games as a starter, Minshew has totaled 1,700 passing yards, with 10 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions, with a completion percentage of 69%. Minshew has carried the depleted Jacksonville Jaguars to a 3-2 record since he has become a full-time starter and has allowed wide receivers such as D.D. Westbrook and D.J. Chark to emerge as full-time starters and serious deep threats for the Jaguars' offense. As the season progresses, we will witness how Minshew progresses throughout the year and for many years to come. Back to you in the studio. More in politics. What do you think about Trump's decision to remove troops from Syria?
I think it could have a big impact in the future, and I'm not really sure what could happen, but it could potentially be a big blunder. Here's Matt Lass on the latest news with Donald Trump.
I'm Matthew Lass from the W. In today's news, President Trump's decision to pull U.S. troops out of northern Syria could have been the biggest blunder of his presidency. President Trump now has to defend his decision to his own party. According to South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham,
I expect the American president to do what's in our national security interest. And it's never in our national security interest to abandon an ally who's helped us fight ISIS. It's never in our national security interest to create conditions for the reemergence of ISIS.
comparing Trump to former President Barack Obama. When Obama left Iraq, all hell broke loose. And if you think, Mr. President, ISIS is only a threat to Europe, you don't understand ISIS. ISIS will come after all of us, not just Europeans. This is very important because this mistake may impact how the Republican side votes on future laws and political decisions. This affects the U.S. citizens because the Democratic Party now may win some of the votes on laws. The ISIS and Syria issue has been occurring since when Obama was president. Presidents have been dealing with Syria for a long time, and Republicans are saying Trump's decision is worse than Obama's back in 2013. That is now being exaggerated as the worst possible moment for him, said political consultant Alex Cohen. He is now facing two battles, one with House Democrats on the impeachment issue and the other with Senate Republicans on the Syria issue. So as you can see, President Trump has dug a big hole that he wants to get out of if he wants to continue as president. This is Matthew Lass, and you're watching The W. Back to you at the studio.
Matt Bonsignor gives us some insight on concussions in soccer. Concussions are a serious problem in all athletic events, and in soccer, parents and coaches are taking action. In the United States, parents and soccer coaches are implementing new ways to keep teens safer while playing.
Hi, I'm Matt Bonds, and welcome back to the W. Concussions are a serious problem in all athletic events, and in soccer, parents and coaches are taking action. In the United States, parents and soccer coaches are implementing new ways for teens to be safer while playing. Concussion is a sports-related head injury prevalent in any collision sport, and even some sports that don't categorically involve a collision. Recently, a team of experts investigated concussions in the most effective way to prevent them, starting with clinical science research that helps protect an athlete's head. According to Rick Lord, from Preventing Sports Concussions in Women's Soccer, a team of doctors statistically proved that headbands help prevent injuries by 70%. The consensus data that was collected from the team of doctors also indicates that the rate of concussion injury in this player population on a steady incline year over year from 2006 to 2011, when it began to plateau. Any athlete can suffer from concussion, but they are most common in high school medium contact sports such as football, soccer, lacrosse, and basketball. At each level, from the very young to the professional level play, head injuries and concussions are an issue. Concussions are the second most common injuries sustained during match play. In addition, 3/4 of concussions in soccer are unexpected. The player was not aware of the contact or the collision coming. NFL may get these headlines because of high-profile cases of brain diseases, but the same concussions are prevalent in soccer, and parents and coaches are looking for ways to help prevent these injuries to teens with gear that protects their head. I'm Matt Bonds, and this is the W.
The Joker movie has troubled audiences nationwide, with many fearing it's too dark and real in this day and age. I had the chance to see it over the weekend, and here's my review.
I'm James Stuetz, and you're watching The W. On October 4th, the Joker movie was released to the public in theaters nationwide, capturing the chilling backstory of one of the most well-known comic villains of all time. The film studies the path of a troubled clown and stand-up comedian named Arthur Fleck, who struggles with poverty and mental illness as an adult while living with his mother. In many ways, this movie accentuates those problems he deals with, following his path from just another neglected citizen of Gotham to leading a widespread revolt and destroying order in the city. I happened to get the chance to see the movie, and I really liked it. However, a few of the scenes grew very intense and dealt with various types of mental illness. According to New York Times writer I.L. Guru, some worry that this film legitimizes such atrocities and could provoke more of them. This follows the 2012 shooting scare at a Colorado movie theater during an airing of The Dark Knight Rises, the last film released that had also focused on the Joker. The Joker is a character known for acting through violence and anarchy in an attempt to ruin the structure of society, a message that will not likely be handled well in 2019. In the days following the premiere of this movie, the U.S. Army has issued a statement warning movie theater chains in California and New York, notifying them of dark web chatter and discussing potential threats. Regardless, I recommend going to see this movie. It is a surefire pick to sweep the Oscars and is the talk of the news. I'm James Stuetz, and you're watching The W. Back to you in the studio.
Did you know the Mount Pleasant Education Foundation raises money, which is then distributed to teachers from the school?
I knew they raised money, but I had no idea it went to the schools. Anyways, one of the grants received this year, the Education Foundation awarded Mr. Zerba a grant allowing his class a full set of drones for the science, art, and engineering classes. Now to John McCarty with word on the Bronx Zoo trespasser. A woman jumped into an enclosure at the Bronx Zoo, a news headline that has become too common nowadays.
Hi, I'm John McCarty and this is The W. Have you ever seen a pretty cat and felt the urge to go pet it? Well, on September 28th, an unidentified woman jumped into the lion enclosure at the Bronx Zoo in order to taunt the feline beast. The only thing standing in between her and the lion was a moat and a 14-foot drop. Bystanders recorded the event and put it on Instagram. Some said that the lion began to roar at the woman. Fortunately, she got out of the enclosure without a scratch, but what she did was highly illegal. This action was a serious violation and unlawful trespass that could have resulted in serious injury or death. Barriers and rules are in place to keep both visitors, staff, and animals safe, zoo officials said. The woman left the zoo without being caught or identified. To this date, authorities are still looking for her. Although they haven't located her yet, the zoo decided to press criminal trespass charges against the woman. Recently, the safety of animal enclosures has been in the spotlight, just a few years after a child climbed into a gorilla exhibit in a Cincinnati zoo, which led to the gorilla being shot and killed. People need to be aware that enclosures are there for their safety and the safety of the animals. This is a serious situation that everybody should learn from. This woman put not only herself in serious danger, but the lion too. It's not at all humorous, and it was very dangerous and illegal. In the end, nobody was injured during this dangerous stunt. I'm John Bacardi, back to you in the studio.
In more political news, Stephen Pryor discusses Trump's impeachment inquiry. On September 24th, Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced that the White House will launch an impeachment inquiry against Donald Trump.
Welcome to The W. I'm Stephen Pryor, and the hottest thing in the news is the impeachment inquiry. September 24th, Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced that the House would launch an impeachment inquiry against Donald Trump. To be sure, there have been long grounds suspecting Donald Trump froze $391 million in military aid to leverage Ukraine president into carrying out his political bidding. The Constitution does not specify many, making impeachment and removal as much a question of political will as the legal analysis. The Constitution does not detail how lawmakers may choose to interpret what is and is not impeachable, says New York Times reporter Charles Savage. Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney says holdup of Ukraine aid was related to Trump's demand for 2016 election probe. Mulvaney stated money that was held up had nothing to do with Biden.
The U.S. House of Representatives will take its first floor vote on impeachment this week, with a resolution that lays out the next phase of the inquiry into President Donald Trump. In a letter to fellow Democrats, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Monday said the measure would lay out the groundwork for public hearings as pressure grows from Republicans to make the inquiry more open. She also said the procedure would include ways to set due process for Trump and his lawyers, plus outline steps for committees to forward evidence they've collected to the House Judiciary Committee.
I'm Stephen Pryor, and this is the W. Thanks for watching. Back to you guys in the studio.
Happy Halloween, Westlake. Maybe a little late, but John McCarty called up with Miss Morris to get some info on the pumpkin carving and chalk art contest.
Hi, I'm John Bacardi here with Miss Morris. Do you do anything special with your classes for Halloween?
I do. In studio art, the students bring in pumpkins and we actually etch them. And so this year what we did was we used Disney as a theme, and they etched out designs, different sort of Disney designs. And what etching a pumpkin is over carving a pumpkin is you scratch essentially like the top layers of the pumpkin to have it kind of illuminate and shows different values.
Okay. And where do you guys do this? Do you do it in the classroom, outside?
We do it all here in the classroom, and over the course of usually Halloween week is when I do this assignment.
Okay. And why did you decide to do this? Was it just an idea that you got, or like did you get inspiration from somewhere?
So a couple things. I love Halloween. It's one of my favorite holidays. The other thing is there's a company in Brooklyn called Maniac Pumpkin Carvers, and it's actually a group of artists who full-time etch pumpkins, and your pumpkins are in the Met right now, and different companies like the World Series and stuff orders pumpkins, and they're kind of all over the States right now. So it was a really nice project for students to see art happening in real life.
And how long ago did you start this? Was it new this year, or how long have you been doing it?
I think I've been doing this for the last on and off 8 years. It's one of those assignments where it was an absolute failure the first year or two, and then as I've done it more and more, I feel like the projects become a little bit better and more refined.
Right. And tell me a little bit about the chalk art contest that you guys had the other day.
Oh, thank you so much for asking. So the chalk art contest is a contest that's co-sponsored from the Photo Club and the Art Club. So those two clubs work together, and essentially anyone could sign up for the chalk art, and the participants pay a small fee to do the chalk art. And then we this year got some black wood boards, and they actually did the chalk art outside, and then we brought them into the lobby.
So how'd that go?
I think it went really well. We had about 50 to 60 people at our event. We had 18 boards, I think, illustrated, and it was great.
When did you guys start doing that?
I think this was our 4th or 5th annual chalk art festival, and it was a great one.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome.
The interview with Miss Morris went really well. As you can see here at Westlake, we have a lot of fun during the Halloween season. I hope it goes this well next year. Back to you in the studio.
Last but not least, Alice Warford and John Bacardi recently caught up with Mr. Shanker, introducing the first ever installment of Top Talk, a monthly sit-down conversation with our principal. This month's conversation is about AP Capstone versus IB Diploma Program and how the school may change in the future.
Good afternoon, Westlake High School. We're your hosts, Alice Warford
and John Bacardi,
and we're here with the first episode of Top Talk. Mr. Shanker, thank you for being on our episode.
My pleasure.
So in recent discussion, a lot of teachers and students have been hinting to the fact that we might see more rigorous curriculum integrated into the school system.
There's actually 2 different things that we're looking at for the future. Unfortunately, seniors won't see it this year, but potentially our current sophomores would see this. So it's really in the two areas. One is with a program that many kids are familiar with. It's College Board's AP program.
Yes.
And there's something called the AP Capstone Diploma. So it's actually another level above just taking AP classes. There's 2 other classes that we could introduce with that. One called AP Seminar, which is like the introduction to research, and then AP Research, which is actually a research-oriented course. But it's research in any topic of interest to students. If they do that along with 4 of their AP classes, they have the potential, depending on how they score, to actually graduate with an AP Capstone Diploma. And then the other class that we are, and program that we've been talking about for the last couple of years, something that sophomores actually would be a little familiar with, because there's the International Baccalaureate program is in the middle school, is actually to introduce the IB Diploma Program. Similar, you can graduate with a different diploma in addition to your New York State diploma, But you take 6 other courses plus a theory of knowledge course, and you do also an extended research paper. And that would give you, again, depending on how you score, give you the ability to kind of graduate with a really enriched diploma. So obviously attractive for colleges, and obviously attractive for, I think, the way it makes kids think, both of those programs. So you are going to hear a lot of dialogue and discussion over the next month, month and a half about which direction should we go in. Can't do both. We got to make a choice.
Is the AP diploma, is that for college credit?
So the AP capstone right now, you can earn college credit. In addition, the same way like students do now, you take an AP class, you get a 3 or better on an AP exam, and the college you're applying to potentially could give you credit towards their program at college. The AP Capstone Diploma would do the same thing. It would add 2 more courses of opportunity to kids.
With these different options, would they change the kinds of classes that students are taking now?
They would. It's a good question. Part of the discussion that has to happen is what would a kid's schedule look like if we went with the IB Diploma Program. There's actually a whole separate pathway of 6 different courses that kids would have to navigate through in junior and senior year. If you do the AP Capstone Diploma, kids would still kind of do what they do now. They choose kind of the APs they're interested in, but they'd have to add these 2 new courses in, that AP Seminar and that AP Research. So one has a little bit more scheduling impact than the other.
How would you feel about parents asking you, Mr. Shanker, is my child going to have 5 hours of homework every night because of this?
It's definitely comes with a commitment of time. Both of these classes really are, if you look across the country and you look at the most challenging programs you'll find in high schools, obviously AP has always been at that level. The International Baccalaureate program is an equal match. So you are committing yourself to many hours of study. And if you are doing the IB Diploma Program, which is that 6 courses plus this other theory of knowledge course, you have to think about that commitment of time. And is it right? It's not going to be right for all kids. Right? This is an enrichment opportunity.
Are there any schools around us that have gone either way, and if so, which ones?
Good question. IB has been around since 1968. Much more historically known program, and more schools in our area. So most recently, Dobbs Ferry has been an IB school for well over 20 plus years. Harrison, more recently in the last 6 to 7 years, has adopted an IB program. Pelham right now is in the process. Somers High School just became an IB school, actually literally 2 years ago, got authorized. And there are others. If you go out to Long Island, IB has been in place in Long Island for a lot longer. Rockville Center, which is Southside High School, has been an IB school since 1980. So it's a well-established. The AP Capstone is very new. It only came out in 2016. So our closest school that is next to us that is doing it right now, Stepinac, has AP Capstone. And Pauling High Schools, actually, which is just north of Brewster, are the 2 closest schools. There's a lot of New York City schools that do AP Capstone and a lot of Long Island schools, but those are the closest schools to us.
Can you let us know how teachers at Westlake are feeling about this?
So we've had some beginning discussion. There is, I would say, a leaning towards AP Capstone because we have such a well, I think, respected and ingrained AP program already here. We offer 18 AP classes. So I think there's a lot of kind of leaning that way, but there is something interesting about the IB program in terms of its educational approach. What does it get students to do and think about? Anybody who's been in an AP knows that AP classes, for the most part, are very focused in on that subject. The IB program and its approach is getting kids to see how does subject matter and what you study in school connect with each other. So if I take a biology class in IB, I'm also learning how biology might link to mathematics or history. I'm not just studying biology in isolation.
So, Mr. Shanker, we actually have some questions from the student body.
Great.
Matt, would you mind? Thank you.
I hope these are good, thoughtful questions.
Me too.
All right, let's see. A very timely question. So the question from the student is, will we ever have a turf field? So As many students who are involved in athletics and even through our PE program knows, the focus on our athletic fields and what we can do to actually improve them has been kind of a topic of conversation for, I've been here for 10 years, and I'm sure it probably predates me. And what is going on right now in district, both from parent organizations that are supporting athletics and support the district in general, and from conversations going on with athletics, is they are trying to get momentum behind putting up a bond that would be for replacing at least our main turf field, if not more. So stay tuned. You may see something in the next couple months that actually answers this and gives a positive sign towards something maybe happening in the future.
Thank you so much for tuning into our first episode of Top Talk. Back to you in the studio.
I'm James Stuetz.
And I'm Patrick Hickey. Thank you for watching The W.